There comes a moment in every soul's life when the weight they've been carrying becomes too heavy to hide. The cracks begin to show, not because you are weak, but because you've held on for far too long without allowing yourself to breathe. Healing is not about erasing what happened, pretending it didn't hurt, or forcing yourself to move on. Healing begins the moment you decide to stop running from your wounds and start walking toward the one who created your heart. Happiness is not found in the world's noise, in people's approval, or in the perfection you keep chasing. Happiness grows when you surrender what breaks you to the one who can mend you. Your journey toward healing and happiness is not linear. Some days you will rise with strength, and other days you will fall with exhaustion. But even in the falling, you are held. Even in the breaking, there is a wisdom unfolding. You are being guided, shaped, and prepared for a life rooted in peace. Not the temporary peace that fades with circumstances, but the kind that settles deep inside your chest. The kind that comes when you trust that every season has a purpose. Healing is not becoming someone new. It is returning to who you were before the world wounded you. And happiness is not a destination. It is the quiet joy of knowing that you are never walking alone. Healing begins with acknowledging your pain instead of hiding it. It starts in the quiet moments, those moments when you finally stop pretending that you're fine, when you no longer force a smile to protect others from the truth of what you're carrying. Pain has a way of settling deep within the heart, taking root in places you don't even realize until it begins to weigh you down. Many people go through life trying to outrun their hurt, masking it with business, distractions, or even denial. But nothing heals when it's buried. Wounds that are ignored don't disappear. They grow, they spread, and they silently shape how you think, how you love, how you trust, and how you see yourself. Acknowledging your pain is not a sign of weakness. It is one of the strongest, most courageous steps a human being can take when you allow yourself to admit, yes, this hurt me. You begin to reclaim power over the things that once controlled you from the shadows. When you choose to stop hiding what broke you, you make space for honesty, and honesty is the foundation of healing. It's like opening a window in a room that has been dark and closed for too long. The light doesn't immediately remove all the dust, but it begins to reveal what needs to be cleaned. The moment you acknowledge your pain, you stop running from your sign. You stop continuing the pattern of pushing your emotions aside as though they don't deserve attention. You stop silencing the story your heart has been trying to tell. You begin, for the first time, to breathe. We live in a world that teaches people to keep going no matter what, to stay strong even when breaking, to appear happy even when drowning inside. But true strength is not pretending that you are untouched by life. True strength is cracking open the armor you built and saying, I am hurting, but I am still here. You give yourself permission to feel, and feeling is essential for healing. You cannot heal what you refuse to feel. You cannot overcome what you insist on ignoring. Healing only begins when honesty begins. Acknowledging pain also requires compassion. Compassion for yourself, compassion for the version of you that endured things in silence. Compassion for the heart that didn't know how to cry for help because it was too busy trying to survive. You cannot heal from a place of self-blame. You heal when you look at your wounds. Now it's not with judgment, but with gentleness. When you say, I did the best I could with what I knew then, you open a door for healing to flow in. Pain that is acknowledged becomes pain that can be transformed. But acknowledging pain doesn't mean drowning in it. It doesn't mean replaying the past until it consumes you or defining yourself by what broke you. It simply means facing the truth with courage. It means recognizing the wound so that you can place it in the hands of the one who can mend it. What you acknowledge, you can surrender. What you surrender, you can rise from. Acknowledging your pain also allows you to connect with others in a deeper, more authentic deeper. When you hide your pain, you build walls, not just around your heart, but around your relationships. You keep people at a distance because you fear they might see the cracks. But when you're honest with yourself and with the people you trust, you allow your heart to soften. You begin to realize that vulnerability doesn't make you weak. It builds bridges. It creates understanding. It reminds you that you are not alone in your struggles. Many people around you carry invisible battles, and your honesty may become the light that helps them acknowledge their own wounds. There is a certain kind of freedom that comes when you stop pretending, when you no longer feel the pressure to hide your sadness behind a perfect image or a constant smile. You step into a life that feels more real. You stop exhausting yourself trying to maintain a facade. You stop living in fear of your own emotions. Acceptance allows you to live honestly, and honesty allows you to heal. You begin to see that your pain has shaped you, but it doesn't have to limit you. You learn that your brokenness is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of your transformation. And that transformation starts with a simple, powerful truth. I am hurting, and that is okay. Because once you acknowledge your pain, you open the door for comfort, guidance, healing, and ultimately peace. Your heart becomes ready to grow, to rebuild, to rise, not despite the pain, but through it. True happiness grows when you stop chasing the world and turn back to your Creator. There comes a time in every person's life when they realize that everything they've been running after, status, validation, perfection, people's approval, never fills the emptiness inside. You chase one thing after another, believing that the next achievement will finally bring peace. The next relationship will finally make you feel whole. The next opportunity will finally give your life meaning. But the world keeps shifting. People change. Circumstances rise and fall. Achievements fade, and the heart, tired from the constant running, eventually whispers the truth, I am exhausted. That exhaustion is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It is a sign that you've been looking for permanent peace in temporary places. The world is designed to distract, to induce, to keep your heart attached to things that were never meant to hold it. You keep trying to hold onto life with a tight group, but everything slips through your fingers like sand. And the harder you try to hold on, the more it hurts. This is the nature of worldly chasing. It promises happiness, but it demands your peace as payment. It convinces you that fulfillment lies just one step ahead, but when you get there, it pushes the finish line further away. You end up living in a cycle of constant striving, constant comparison, constant fear of losing what you think. But peace was never meant to be found in what changes. True happiness is rooted in returning to the one who never changes. When you turn back to your Creator, you are returning home, returning to the place your heart was created to rest. You begin to realize that the emptiness you felt was not a flaw, it was an invitation. It was a reminder that your soul was created for something higher, something deeper, something eternal. The world can entertain you, distract you, even momentarily uplift you, but only your Creator can heal you, complete you, and give meaning to your existence. When you stop chasing the world, you start seeing it for what it truly is, a temporary journey, a means, not an end. You start noticing how much pressure lifts from your chest when you no longer depend on people's opinions to feel worth. You stop performing for the world and start living with sincerity. You stop fearing loss because you realize that nothing the world gives compares to what your Creator offers. Your heart becomes lighter because it no longer carries the weight of expectations that were never yours to be. Turning back to your Creator is not about withdrawing from life. It is about engaging in life with a different heart. One that is grounded, centered, and connected to something far greater than the world's noise. You start to build your joy on foundations that cannot be shaken by heartbreak, setbacks, or disappointment. Your happiness begins to grow from a place of gratitude, humility, and trust. You discover that the more you remember the one who created your heart, the more your heart feels remembered, protected, and nurtured. This return brings clarity. You begin to see your blessings with new eyes, not as things you earned, but as gifts given to you with divine wisdom. You begin to understand your hardships differently, not as punishments, but as lessons, purifications, and reminders to draw closer. You start to feel a sense of steadiness inside you, a peace that doesn't rise and fall with the highs and lows of life. This is the happiness that comes from surrender, not the surrender of defeat, but the surrender of trust. This shift also changes how you love. It's instead of clinging to people out of fear, you love them with balance, kindness, and sincerity. You no longer seek from people what only your Creator can give. Your relationships become healthier because they are no longer built on dependency. They are built on compassion and faith. Your heart becomes free from jealousy, free from comparison, free from despair, because it is no longer tied to a world that cannot hold it. True happiness is not found in what you chase, it is found in what you return to. And when you return to your Creator, you return to your purpose, your peace, your center. You return to the one who knows you, hears you, and loves you in ways the world never can. And from that return, happiness begins to grow, not as a fleeting emotion, but as a lasting state of the heart. Every season of difficulty carries wisdom and purpose, even when unseen. There are moments in life when everything feels heavy, when the path ahead seems unclear, and when your heart feels overwhelmed by questions that have no immediate answers. In those moments, it is easy to believe that hardship is meaningless, that you are suffering without reason, and that nothing good could possibly come from the pain you are experiencing. But what you cannot see in the midst of the storm is the quiet work being done within you, the deep strengthening, the reshaping of your heart, the awakening of resilience, and the unfolding of wisdom that only difficulty can teach. Hardships are not random interruptions in the story of your life. They are chapters filled with lessons that are often too deep for the eyes to notice at first glance. Sometimes, struggle arrives to slow you down, to pull you away from a path that would have harmed you. Sometimes, it arrives to prepare you for blessings you are not yet ready to carry. Sometimes, difficulty comes to soften your heart, to teach you compassion, to deepen your connection with your Creator, and to remind you that you were never meant to walk life relying solely on your own strength. You may not see the purpose while you are standing inside the trial, but one day you look back and realize that what felt like breaking was actually building you. Every season of hardship carries a hidden curriculum. Pain teaches patience in ways comfort never can. Loss teaches gratitude for what remains. Silence teaches you to listen. Loneliness teaches you the value of sincere companionship. Disappointment teaches you not to place your trust in fragile things. Waiting teaches surrender, and surrender teaches peace. The lessons may come quietly, slowly, or even painfully, but they come with a wisdom that transforms you from the inside out. It's important to remember that wisdom does not always reveal itself immediately. Just as seeds take time to break open beneath the soil before they bloom, your struggles take time to unveil their purpose. In the darkness of uncertainty, in the moments when everything feels confusing, a transformation is happening, one that you may not recognize yet. What looks like delay may be protection. What feels like disappointment may be redirection. What seems like the end may actually be the beginning of a new chapter that you could not have entered without first walking through difficulty. Every hardship carries a divine precision. Nothing is wasted. Not a tear, not a moment of fear, not a night spent questioning. Not a single breath of exhaustion. Even the trials that feel most senseless or unfair carry threads of wisdom that only become visible when the heart grows in understanding. Often, it is only after emerging from a difficult season that you recognize how much strength you gathered, how much clarity you gained, how much unnecessary weight you released, and how much closer you grew to your Creator. Pain also humbles the heart in a beautiful way. It teaches you that you cannot control everything, that you cannot predict every outcome, and that sometimes the only thing you can do is trust. Difficulty pushes you to the edge of what you think you can handle, only to show you that you are capable of far more than you imagine. It teaches you to rely on something greater than yourself, to find stability in faith when everything else feels uncertain. And in that reliance, you discover a peace that the world cannot give. You may not understand the purpose of your hardship today. You may still be in the middle of it, wondering when the season will end. But one thing is certain: no difficulty is without meaning. Every challenge carries a wisdom tailor-made for your growth. Every setback brings you one step closer to where you are meant to be. Every unanswered prayer holds an answer that is unfolding with perfect timing. And one day, perhaps unexpectedly, you will look back and see the wisdom that was hidden within the struggle. You will realize that the season that felt like breaking was the season that built you. The time that felt darkest was the time that guided you. The pain that felt unbearable was the pain that opened your heart to deeper faith, deeper patience, and deeper strength. Every season of difficulty carries wisdom and purpose, even when, from where you stand today, it remains unseen. You are not alone. Your journey is held, guided, and supported by divine mercy. Even in the moments when you feel abandoned, when silence surrounds you, when prayers feel unanswered and your heart feels unseen, there is a gentle, unseen presence carrying you through what you cannot carry on your own. Sometimes life becomes so heavy that you begin to believe you are walking your path alone, that no one understands the depth of your struggle, and that the weight you hold is yours alone to bear. But what the heart forgets during hardship is that divine mercy is closer to you than your own breath, closer than any human support, closer than your fears, closer than your doubts. It is holding you even when you don't recognize its embrace. There are times when the world quiets and the loneliness becomes overwhelming. You look around and see people moving forward, achieving, celebrating, living with ease, while you feel like you're stuck in a storm with no shelter. But what you cannot see is the unseen help surrounding you, the countless ways you are being carried through moments that should have broken you. You survived nights you thought would drown you. You stood up after days that drained you completely. You held on to hope when your hands felt too weak to keep. That strength did not come from you alone. It came from divine help woven into every breath you took. Divine mercy is not always loud or dramatic. It often comes quietly, like a soft whisper in your heart reminding you to keep going. It comes in the unexpected calm that settles after a night of crying. It comes in the sudden clarity that appears after weeks of confusion. It comes in the patience you didn't know you had, in the courage you didn't think you could summon, in the healing you didn't expect to feel. It comes in the form of people whose kindness arrives exactly when you need it, in opportunities that unfold just when you were ready to give up, in signs that reassure you that your story is still being written with purpose. You may feel lost at times, but you are never truly lost. Every step you take is being watched with love. Every detour is known, and every tear is counted. When you fall, you are lifted. When you break, you are rebuilt. When you wander, you are guided back. Divine mercy does not abandon you in your weakest moments. It surrounds you with even greater tenderness. It sees the pain you hide, the battles you fight in silence, the hopes you guard deep within your heart. And it responds not with judgment, but with compassion. Always. Even the pauses and delays in your life are guided. What feels like waiting is often protection. What feels like rejection is often redirection. What feels like loneliness is often a sacred space being created for you to reconnect with your Creator in ways you never have before. In those quiet, difficult seasons, your heart learns to listen, to reflect, to surrender. And through that surrender, you discover a level of closeness and comfort that cannot be found anywhere else. Divine mercy also shows up in the form of resilience. You think you're breaking, yet somehow you continue to rise. You think you've reached your limit, yet something within you pushes forward. That something is not random. It is the strength gifted to you by the one who knows your capacity better than you do yourself. You are given enough strength for today, enough clarity for the moment, enough hope to take the next step. That is divine mercy holding your hand through the uncertainty. And perhaps the most comforting truth is this: you have never taken a single step alone, even if you felt alone. The moments that changed you, the trials that purified you, the blessings that embraced you, they were all part of a journey being gently guided from above. You are protected in ways you do not see, loved in ways you cannot measure, and cared for in ways your heart has yet to fully understand. So when you feel overwhelmed, remind yourself of this truth: you are not alone. You are being carried. You are being guided. You are being held by a mercy that is infinite, compassionate, and unceasing. Your journey is never solitary, because the one who created your heart walks with you through every step, every storm, and every sunrise that follows. Healing is a gradual return to your authentic, unburdened self. It is not a sudden transformation or a dramatic moment of clarity. Rather, it is a slow, gentle unfolding, a process of peeling back the layers you built around your heart to survive. Over the years, life teaches you to protect yourself in ways that sometimes disconnect you from who you truly are. Pain makes you build walls. Disappointments make you shrink. Betrayal makes you guarded. Fear makes you silent. You begin to carry parts of yourself that were never meant to be permanent. Defenses, masks, habits, and identities shaped by wounds rather than truth. Healing is the sacred journey of releasing those layers and rediscovering the version of yourself that existed before the world hurt you. It begins quietly, often in moments of exhaustion, when you realize you can no longer live numbing your emotions or pretending to be stronger than you feel. You start to notice the weight you've been carrying, the expectations that drain you, the fears that limit you, the memories that haunt you, and the patterns that keep repeating because they come from unhealed places. At first, the process is uncomfortable. Letting go always feels strange. You've held onto your wounds for so long that they began to feel familiar, almost like home. But as you slowly release what no longer serves your heart, something shifts. You begin to breathe different. You begin to see yourself with softer eyes. You begin to uncover the parts of your soul that were buried beneath years of survival. Healing asks you to stop running from your emotions and to sit with them instead, to listen to the unspoken stories inside you, to acknowledge the younger version of yourself who never had the space to cry, to grieve the moments that reshape, and to honor the strength it took for you to endure. It is a process of witnessing your own heart with compassion rather than judgment. Instead of asking, "Why am I like this?" you begin to ask, "What happened to me?" And with that shift, the shame you carried begins to loosen its grip. You start to understand that your reactions were not failures, they were survival responses. Your pain was not a weakness, it was a sign that you were human, sensitive, and deeply affected by what you lived through. As you heal, you gradually reconnect with parts of yourself you had forgotten. The spark you thought was gone begins to flicker again. Your laughter returns, no longer forced. Your dreams begin to feel possible again. You start to love without fear, speak without trembling, and walk without the constant feeling of holding your breath. Healing does not make your past disappear. It transforms your relationship with it. What once triggered you begins to teach you. What once controlled you begins to empower you. What once brought you to your knees becomes the foundation of your growth. You also begin to set boundaries. Quietly, firmly, without guilt, you realize that protecting your peace is not selfish, it is necessary. You stop sacrificing your well-being to keep others comfortable. You stop shrinking to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. You start choosing what aligns with your truth rather than what pleases the world. This alignment is where your authentic self begins to return, stronger, clearer, and more grounded than before. Healing is not linear. Some days you feel like you're moving forward, and other days you feel pulled back by old memories or emotions you thought you had already overcome. But even on those days, you are healing. Growth is not measured by the absence of pain, but by the increased awareness and understanding you bring to it. Over time, you begin to notice that the heaviness doesn't feel as heavy. The wounds don't feel as raw. The memories don't feel as sharp. You become more patient with yourself, more forgiving, more open to the idea that you deserve joy, safety, and love. Most beautifully, healing brings you back to yourself, not to who you were before the pain, but to who you were meant to become through it. You emerge softer yet stronger, wiser yet humbler, grounded yet open-hearted. You rediscover the purity and strength that were always inside you, but were buried beneath years of burdens. Healing is a gradual return, a homecoming of the soul, a gentle unfolding, a quiet reclaiming of your heart. And with each layer you release, you step closer to the version of yourself that is whole, free, and truly unburdened. Happiness is found not in perfection, but in trust, surrender, and inner peace. For so many of us, the pursuit of happiness becomes a pursuit of flawlessness. We try to perfect our plans, perfect our relationships, perfect our careers, perfect our emotions, and perfect our lives as if perfection is the price we must pay to feel at peace. Yet the more we chase this impossible ideal, the more our hearts ache. Perfection is a mirage. The closer you try to get to it, the more it disappears. It leaves you tired, anxious, overwhelmed, and constantly questioning your worth. You begin to measure yourself by unrealistic standards, comparing your behind the scenes to the polished moments you see in others. Happiness slips further away because you are trying to build it on a foundation that doesn't exist. True happiness begins the moment you stop expecting yourself to be flawless. It begins when you understand that peace isn't born from control, but from trust. When you release the burden of trying to shape every outcome, when you accept that there are things you cannot change, when you allow yourself to be human and limited and imperfect, something inside you softens. That softening is the beginning of inner peace. You begin to breathe again, no longer suffocated by the pressure to keep everything together. You realize that life does not require your perfection. It requires your sincerity, your effort, your faith, and your willingness to let go when holding on becomes too heavy. Trust is the quiet antidote to perfectionism. It tells your heart that you don't have to know how everything will unfold in order to be at peace. It reassures you that even the unknown, even the unexpected, can carry goodness. Trust teaches you that the world does not rest on your shoulders, and that you are guided even when you feel lost. When your heart leans into trust, you begin to feel supported rather than burdened, held rather than overwhelmed. You begin to understand that life is not falling apart. It is unfolding exactly as it needs to. And this trust leads naturally into surrender. Not the surrender of defeat, but the surrender of wisdom. It is the peaceful release of what was never in your control to begin with. Surrender allows you to stop fighting battles that were never yours. It allows you to stop forcing outcomes that are not meant for you. It teaches you to place your hopes, fears, dreams, and disappointments in hands more capable than your own. You surrender not because you've given up, but because you've finally learned to let go of the illusion that you can control everything. In surrender, peace begins to bloom. A peace that is not dependent on circumstances, not shaken by difficulty, not lost when things don't go your way. Inner peace is born when you stop tying your happiness to the shifting tides of life and start anchoring it in something deeper. It is the quiet acceptance that life will ebb and flow, that not every moment will be bright, and that not every chapter will be easy, but that every part of the journey carries its own meaning and mercy. Inner peace comes from aligning your heart with what matters and letting go of what does not. It comes from choosing presence over worry, gratitude over comparison, patience over frustration. It comes from giving yourself permission to rest when you're tired, to feel when you're hurting, to pause when you're overwhelmed. When you allow yourself to be human, to feel deeply, to trust wholeheartedly, and to surrender gracefully, you begin to taste a kind of happiness that no perfection could ever offer. Happiness grows in the spaces where you stop fighting life and start flowing with it. It grows when you realize that your worth was never tied to your achievements, your appearance, your performance, or your ability to meet everyone's expectations. It grows when you embrace your imperfections as part of your humanity, when you see your struggles as part of your growth, when you trust that every chapter carries wisdom even if you cannot see it now. And so, happiness is not found in flawless moments or perfectly executed plans. It is found in the quiet confidence that you are guided, in the gentle surrender of what you cannot control, and in the inner peace that blooms when you choose trust over fear. This kind of happiness does not fade with life's storms. It deepens through them. It becomes a steady flame within you, illuminating your heart from the inside out, reminding you that true peace was never outside of you. It was always waiting to be uncovered within.